Prabhuji. Yeah, I can see now, Prabhuji.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam Namaskrityam
Narayanam Namaskrityam
Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam
Tato Jayamudirayat
Tato Jayamudirayat
Nashtaprayasu Abhadresu
Nashtaprayasu
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Bhagavati Uttama Sloke
Bhagavati Uttama Sloke
Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki.
Bhakti
Bhakti.
Reading from Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 10, titled The Opulence of the Absolute. And today we are going to read verse 12 and 13. Arjuna Uvacha
Arjuna Uvacha
Param Brahma Param Dhama
Param Brahma Param
Pavitram Paramam Bhavan
Pavitram Paramam Bhavan
Purusham Saswatam Divyam
Purusham Saswatam
Adi Devam Agyan Vibhum
Adidevam Ajam Vibhum
Ahustvam Rasya Sarve
Ahustam Sarve
Deva Sri Naradas-tatha Asito Devalo Vyasa
Asito Devalo Vyasa
Swayam Chaiva Bhavishvami. Any Prabhuji or Mataji would like to read and lead?
Param Brahma Param Dhama.
Prabhuji, can you say?
Param Dhama.
I'm sorry, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, can you say Arjuna Uvacha?
Arjuna Uvacha.
Oh, sorry. Arjuna Vacha.
Arjuna
Vacha
Param Brahma Param Dhama.
Param Brahma Param Dhama
Pavitram Paramam Bhavan.
Pavitram Paramam Bhavan
Purusham Saswatam Divyam.
Purusham
Saswatam Divyam
Adi Devam Ajam Vibhum.
Adidevam Ajam Vibhum
Ahu Tvam Rushaya Sarve.
Ahustam Rishaya Sarve
Devarsi Naradas-tatha.
Devasri Naradas-tatha
Asito Devalo Vyasa.
Asito Devalo Vyasa
Swayam Chaiva Bravishime.
Swayam
Chaiva
Bhavishime.
Anyone else would like to read Arjuna Vacha?
Arjuna Uvacha
Arjuna Uvacha
Param Brahma Param Dhama
Param Brahma Param Dhama
Pavitram Paramam Bhavan
Pavitram Paramam Bhavan
Purusham Saswatam Divyam
Purusham
Saswatam
Divyam.
Adi Devam Ajam Vibhum
Adidevam Ajam Vibhum
Ahuswam Rusaya Sarve
Ahustam Rishaya Sarve
Devasri Naradas-tatha
Devasri Naradas-tatha
Asita Devala Vyasah
Asito Devalo Vyasa
Swayam Chaiva Bravishime
Swayam Chaiva Bhavishime.
Arjuna Uvacha
Arjuna Uvacha
Param Brahm Param Dhama
Param Brahma Param Dhama
Pavitram Paramam Bhavan
Pavitram Paramam Bhavan
Purusham Saswatam Divyam
Purusham Saswatam Divyam
Adidevam Ajam Vibhum.
Adidevam
Adidevam
Ajam
Ajam
Vibhum
Vibhu.
Ahustvam Rushayah Sarve.
Ahustam
Ahustam
Rusaya
Rusaya
Sarve
Sarve.
Devarsihi Naradah Tatha.
Devarsi Naradas Tatha
Naradastata.
Asito Devalo Vyashah.
Asito
Asito
Devalo
Devalo
Vyasaha
Vyasa.
Swayam Chaiva Pravishime.
Swayam
Swayam
Chaiva
Chaiva
Bhavisimi.
Bhavisime. Thank you very much. Word by word meaning. Arjuna Uvacha.
Arjuna Uvacha.
Arjuna said.
Arjuna said,
Param Supreme.
Param Supreme,
Brahma Truth.
Brahma Truth,
Param Supreme.
Param Supreme,
Dhamma Sustenance.
Dhamma
Dhamma
Sustenance,
sustenance.
Pavitram Pure.
Pavitram Pure,
Pure.
Paramam Supreme.
Paramam Supreme,
Brahman supreme.
Bhavan You.
Bhavan You,
You.
Purusam Personality.
Purusham Personality,
Saswatam Eternal.
Shashwatam Eternal,
Lord.
Divyam Transcendental.
Divyam Transcendental,
Transcendental.
Adidevam the Original Lord.
Adidevam the Original Lord,
Ajam Unborn.
Ajam Unborn,
Vibhum Greatest.
Vibhum Greatest,
Ahu Say.
Ahu say,
Twam of You.
Tvam of you,
Rishaya Sages.
Rishaya sages,
Sarva Survey All.
survey all,
Deva Rishi the sage among the demigods.
Devarashi,
Among
the
the
sage
demigods.
among the demigods,
Among the demigods.
Narada.
Narada,
Narada.
Tatha also.
Tatha also,
Also.
Asita.
Asita,
Devala.
Devala,
Vyasa.
Vyasa,
Swayam personally.
Swayam personally.
Cha also.
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 Eva certainly.
Eva certainly,
Bravisi you are explaining.
Bravisi, you are explaining,
May unto me.
May unto me.
Translation by His Divine Grace S.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Jai.
Arjuna said,
Arjuna said,
you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead,
you are
You are
the
the
Supreme
supreme
Personality of Godhead,
the ultimate abode,
the ultimate abode,
the purest,
the purest,
Pure.
the absolute truth.
the
The
absolute truth.
absolute truth.
You are the eternal,
You are the
You are the
eternal,
eternal,
transcendental,
transcendental,
original person,
original
original
person,
person,
the unborn,
the
the
unborn,
unborn,
the greatest.
the
the
greatest.
greatest.
All the great sages,
All the great
All the great
sages,
sages,
such as Narada,
such as
such as
Narada,
Narada,
Asita,
Asita,
Devala,
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 and Vyasa confirm
and Vyasa
Vyasa
confirmed
confirmed
this truth about you.
this truth about you.
truth about you.
Now you yourself
And now you
Now you
yourself
yourself
are declaring into me.
are declaring unto me.
Any Prabhuji or Mataji would like to read this page of the purport?
In these two verses, the Supreme Lord gives a chance to the Mayavadi philosopher, for here it is clear that Supreme is different from individual soul. Arjuna, after hearing the essential 4 verses of Bhagavad Gita in this chapter, became completely free from all doubt and accepted Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He at once boldly declares, you are Param Brahma, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And previously, Krishna stated that he is the originator of everything and everyone. Every demigod and every human being is dependent on him. Men and demigods, out of ignorance, think that They are absolute and independent of Supreme Personality of Godhead. That ignorance is removed perfectly by the discharge of devotional service. This has already been explained in the previous verse by the Lord. Now, by His grace, Arjuna is accepting Him as the supreme truth in concurrence with the Vedic injunction. It is not that because Krishna is Arjuna's intimate friend, Arjuna is flattering him by calling him the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the absolute truth. Whatever Arjuna says in these two verses is confirmed by Vedic truth. Vedic injunction affirms that only one who takes to devotional service to the Supreme Lord can understand him, whereas others cannot. Each and every word of the Arjuna is confirmed by Vedic injunction.
Thank you, Prabhu. Anyone else would like to read this page?
In the Kena Upanishad, it is stated that the Supreme Brahman is the rest for everything, and Krishna has already explained that everything is resting on him. The Mukunda Upanishad confirms that the Supreme Lord, in whom everything is resting, can be realized only by those who engage constantly in thinking of him. This constant thinking of Krishna is Smaranam, one of the methods of devotional service. It is only by devotional service to Krishna that one can understand his position and get rid of this material body. In the Vedas, the Supreme Lord is accepted as the purest of the pure. One who understands that Krishna is the purest of the pure can become purified from all sinful activities. One cannot be disinfected from sinful activities unless he surrenders unto the Supreme Lord. Arjuna's acceptance of Krishna as the Supreme Pure complies with the injunctions of the Vedic literature. This is also confirmed by great personalities of whom Narada is the chief.
Anyone else would like to read this last page of the purport?
Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and one should always meditate upon him and enjoy one's transcendental relationship with him. He is the supreme existence. He is free from bodily needs, birth, and death. Not only does Arjuna confirm this, but all the Vedic literatures, the Puranas, and histories. In all Vedic literatures, Krishna is thus described, and the Supreme Lord himself also says in the 4th chapter, although I am unborn, I appear on the earth to establish the religious principles. He is the supreme origin. He has no cause for the cause of all the causes, and everything is emanating from him. A perfect knowledge can be had by the grace of the Supreme Lord. Here Arjuna expresses through the grace of Krishna. If we want to understand Bhagavad Gita, we should accept the sentiments in these two verses. This is called the parampara system, acceptance of the disciplic succession. Unless one is in the disciplic succession, he cannot understand Bhagavad Gita. It is not possible by the so-called academic education. Unfortunately, those proud of their academic education, despite so much evidence in Vedic literature, stick to their obstinate conviction that Krishna is an ordinary person.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Let's all chant together our Pranati Mantra. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamaham Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Sapadakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnava Shri Rupam Sagrajata Sagana Raghunatham Vitam
तं
तं
सजीवं
सजीवं
साद्वैतं
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 सावधूतं
सावधूतं परिजन सहितं कृष्ण चैतन्य
कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं
देवं
श्रीराधा
हे
कृष्णपादान्
कृष्ण करुण सिंधु दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपीश गोपिका
कान्त
राधा
राधा
कांत
कान्त
नमोस्तुते
नमोस्तुते
कांचन गौरांगी राधा वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते
वृषभानुसुते
देवी
देवी
प्रणमामि
प्रणमामि
हरि
हरि
वाञ्छकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो नमो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद
श्री
श्री
अद्वैत
अद्वैत
गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद
हरे
हरे
कृष्ण
कृष्ण
हरे
हरे
कृष्ण
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 हरे
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 हरे हरे राम हरे हरे
राम राम हरे हरे.
Thank you so much for joining this wonderful Sangha. And what a verse. This is actually the verse which is following the Chatur Shloki. And in Chatur Shloki, the 8, 9, 10, 11, 10.8, 10.9, 10.10, and 10.11, where the essence of Bhagavad Gita is discussed. And all the four verses are the ones we took in the past. And as we discussed, the first verse of the Chatur Shloki 10.8, it talks about the sambandha aspect of the Lord. That means how to establish that ultimate relation. And this is where it is explained that Krishna is mentioning that what do devotees do? Aham sarvasya prabhu. They understand that Krishna is the source of everything. And then once they understand Krishna is the everything, so then there is a sambandha that who are they? Who is the supreme? Krishna. And what is the
when it is
relationship?
evening
And then in 10.9, which is the next verse, Krishna goes on to say, what do devotees do? The first two words of the Chaturshloki is what do devotees do? But they're slightly different in the context that the first thing, they establish the sambandha and then they work towards the sambandha. That means what do? They derive bliss by conversing about the glories of the Supreme. Tushyanticha Ramanticha Abhidheya. And then the last two verse of this the Tushloki 10.10 is Tesam Satata Yuktana Bhajatam Priti Purvakam. How does Krishna reciprocates? Is the last two verses of the Chaturshloki. And the first of that last two verses of Chaturshloki is what when the devotees are Tushyanticha Ramanticha, when they are enjoying talking about the glories of me, how do I reciprocate? I give the understanding. Krishna says in 10.10 that he gives the understanding by which they can come to him. That means Krishna is saying, you take the first step and I will take 10 steps to get you to myself. As you can see, Lord Jagannath is always welcoming everyone with his open hands. It's for the devotee to really come so that Krishna, in the form of various different forms of the Lord, is welcoming them. So that's nothing but prayojana. That means how Krishna reciprocates. And then the last one is also about how Krishna reciprocates. And how does Krishna reciprocate? By destroying the ignorance, which is compared with darkness, with knowledge, and the knowledge is compared with light. Like light clears up the darkness, likewise the knowledge clears up the darkness of ignorance. And that is nothing but project. So with that context, so now these four powerful verses are spoken to Arjuna. And now Arjuna is mentioning these two verses that he has got full conviction now that Krishna is the ultimate. Arjuna is saying Krishna is Param Brahma. Arjuna, in his desire, because Bhagavad Gita is not a text, it's a context. So in this context, after the four Chaturslokis are spoken by Krishna, Arjuna is fully convinced. And Arjuna, with his open heart, is proclaiming that Krishna, you are Param Brahma, you are Param Dhama. What is Param Brahma here? Param Brahma is Krishna is the Supreme Personality. of Godhead. And Param Dhama means whenever you have some of these four dhams of the Lord, where the Lord has exhibited his personal leelas. Are you able to hear me, or was I disconnected a little bit?
Yeah, you got
Yes,
disconnected.
it got
initially,
disconnected.
Prabhuji.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. So, what are you able to see my screen now, Prabhuji and Mataji?
No, we see
Yes,
your
please,
video,
Prabhuji.
Prabhuji.
Okay.
Yeah,
Not
yes,
the.
please, Prabhuji.
I think you are not sharing anything, Prabhuji. Means the sloka. Yes, now we can see it.
Okay. So I got disconnected. I'm sorry about that. Little bit I got disconnected. So here, after the Chatusloki, Arjuna is getting a full conviction that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and Krishna is Param Dhama. That means he is the ultimate abode. And he goes on to explain so many beautiful glories of Krishna. He's saying, Pavitram Paramam Bhavan, Purusham Saswatam Divyam, Adi Devam Ajam Vivam. He is talking about, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of God, has the ultimate abode, the purest, the absolute truth. You are the eternal, transcendental, original person, the unborn. So here Arjuna is referring to Krishna as the unborn. Like all of us have a beginning and end, but Krishna was never born in that context, that he was there, who is the primeval Lord, and he is there as the Purna Purushottam Krishna right from the beginning of the creation of this cosmic manifestation, and he is the greatest. So this is exactly where, if somebody asks you at what point Arjuna truly, after seeing the Virat Rup in the last chapter, after seeing the universal form, then all these, and then also he was having fear, and then fear changed to a bit of a devotion, and then after devotion, when Krishna exhibited those four slokas just before this, here there is a full surrender, which is turning into um, Arjuna recognizing the Supreme Person is Krishna, and he is the Paramang Dharma, is the purest, the absolute truth, and he is eternal, he is transcendental, he is the original person, and he is unborn. So whenever the born and unborn is discussed, then a lot of people have that inherent confusion that when the soul leaves the body, then our soul becomes different from the body, it transmigrates, but that is when they are different. But in Krishna, the soul and body are one and the same, because the Supreme is the source of everyone, and he was never born to start with, so he's unborn. He's there from trillions and quadrillion years ago, and he's the greatest. And then Arjuna goes on to say that there are one supreme personalities who have recognized the Lord as the supreme, like the great sages, like Devarshi Narada, Asita, Devala. These are all great sages, Vyasadeva. And they confirm, because if you look at the 26 avatars of the Lord, Narad Muni and Vyasadeva, who are always propagating the glories of the Lord, are the Saktavesh avatars of the Lord. They are the incarnations of the Lord themselves. So when they themselves are proclaiming that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is Krishna himself, then Arjuna is saying, like, say, for example, you want to interview somebody, and during the interview process, you're not very sure whether the person who you're interviewing is good enough. So essentially, you give the task of interviewing that person to someone you think is competent in that field. And then once that person likes the candidate, then you have no hesitation in hiring him or her. Exactly like that, Arjuna is saying, like the supremely talented sages such as Narad Muni, Asita Devala, and Vyasa, who have, who have, preached the glories of the Lord, who have written, scriptures, when they themselves are declaring that you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who am I to not agree? But the same Arjuna in the beginning was not agreeing because he had so much doubt in his mind. But that the doubt or the ignorance or the darkness, once it is enlightened with knowledge and it gets cleared up, then Arjuna has no hesitation in accepting not just Krishna, but the verdict of the souls who have accepted Krishna. So here you see tinge of bhakti, which is coming out right away. So when your mind is decluttered, when your mind gets cleared up of all the darkness and your knowledge about who you are and who the Supreme is cleared very significantly, then what you end up doing is you do not only surrender to the Lord, you start surrendering to the devotees. And that is the greatness of bhakti, is when you start surrendering to the Supreme, then you realize that the Lord is very pleased when the devotees of the Lord are pleased. When the devotees of the Lord are pleased, you try to please them so that Lord will be pleased with you because you are trying to please the devotees of the Lord. So bhakti is a very simple process. It's very easy to understand. And it's also a complicated process, which is full of philosophy, which is to be which should be understood in the right mood. Once you realize that when you end up doing a tough math, then you would end up doing the easier things very well. But once you do not get the easy ones out of your way, then you always have the doubt that whether you can be successful in your life or you can be clear in your method of acquiring any form of knowledge. So we should understand that the Lord is very pleased when his devotees are pleased. And once the doubts leave from you, then you start believing in the devotees of the Lord. That's the reason why it is very important that we recognize bhakti by having a true association, by having some knowledge acquisition process. Because when different people who have understood the Lord in the Bhakti Marga, they would have very beautiful way to recognize the Lord. And when they express those thoughts to you, it becomes very clear in your mind about the different viewpoints they bring to the table. And you do not know how you can, your chord, your thought process will connect. That's the reason why when you mix with very different devotees and take their perspective of how they end up loving the Lord differently, then you get a very wonderful perspective. I mean, let's think about a little kid who is observing Lord Jagannath, for example, who is Krishna himself, and you try to tell them that now Lord is sleeping, so you should probably leave and go and go home. But a simple thing like that, when the Lord is sleeping, the small devotee, the kid who have so strong realization, they will end up saying, how can the Lord sleep? Because Lord Jagannath, in the form, a beautiful form of Krishna, he doesn't have eyelids. And when the eyelids are not closed, how can they sleep? So when you recognize that the tenet of bhakti is so deep, it prompts very different kind of realization in very different people. So that makes, because loving somebody doesn't have to be in this 1, 2, 3 way. It can be done in a very different, very unique way. So the love for God, which is nothing but bhakti, is a practice by which you have millions ways to love the Supreme, and the expression of the love can be manifested in very different ways. And once you recognize that, once you see how people are so much in deep love with the Supreme, you realize that there's no end to this love. And that is when Krishna was having headache, and the news spread that Krishna's headache can only go with the the dust of the pure devotees of the Lord, such as gopis. People started, when Lord Krishna's headache broke out, there is a news that if somebody's lotus feet's dust can get to Krishna, he will be eradicated. People stopped giving their dust because it is considered anarthas. But the love to Krishna was so significant by the gopis that they didn't bother to wait. They immediately let the dust of the lotus feet sent to Krishna, so that at least the headache of the Krishna should go first. Forget about we taking birth in lower births again and again, it doesn't matter. So when you think somebody higher than you all the time, the humility is imbibed in you. And that is when you stand, you don't become low, you don't have meek, low esteem. You basically become the servant of the Supreme. Even the servant of the Supreme is significantly powerful than the people who think they can control. None of us have the ability to control anything in our this. It is mentioned that the leaf of a tree can move with the instruction of the Supreme. So we can't do anything. Now at this age, or the news you're hearing, sometimes a person is walking, and after a day or two, he can't walk anymore because he's incapacitated, because under the jurisdiction of the Supreme, a lot of things lies. And once we recognize that, we have, so this beautiful verse started with a Chaturshloki background, but then it culminates into Arjuna's submission. So, and here, Arjuna is also referring to Brahma and Narad. So when Satyuga was going on and Dhruva Maharaj wanted to chant, Narad Muni initiated Dhruva Maharaj, and at the time the mantra which was given is Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Then Brahma and Narad Muni discussed that in the Kali Yuga, people will have very less life. They will have all kind of diseases, and these diseases are going to trouble them big time, and they will not have the right way to offer their prayers, because they will not have a good knowledge of reading the slokas. They will be unclean. So and in Kali Santaran Upanishad, which is a bona fide Upanishad, there is a dialogue between Brahmaji and Narad Muni. And in that Upanishad, it is mentioned, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Iti Shodash Shakam Namnam, Kali Kalmashanam, Nata Partu Ropaya, Sarvavedesh Drishyayat. So it is mentioned that this 16 syllable, this Hare Krishna mantra is not just created by Srila Prabhupada or Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, or it is decided by Brahma and Narad, because Brahmaji mentioned to Narad that in this Kali Yuga, when the Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, if you have fever, you have to take the right medication. If you take some other medication, it's not going to work. So in the Kali Yuga, the Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, which was the Satyuga mantra given to Dhruva Maharaj, is not going to work in Kali Yuga, because in Upanishad it is mentioned that in this age of Kali, Hare Krishna mantra, which is not just given by Srila Prabhupada or Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, it has come from thousands and millions of years ago. So if somebody asks you, hey, why don't you chant the other mantra? Then we have to recognize that Kali Santarana Upanishad has said what to chant. We cannot chant anything. And if you do that, it's like taking any kind of medicine you like. So this Maha Mantra, it goes on to explain, this Maha Mantra consists of 16 names of Krishna, is the destroyer of the illusory covering of the living entities. Because all this, Devis, all this illusory energies of the Lord, they all are controlled within them. Like the body and soul of Krishna are no different. Likewise, Krishna and the name of Krishna are no different. So if we truly want to destroy the contamination of this age of Kali, the age of quarrel and hypocrisy, we have to resort to what Brahmaji and Narad Muni is saying. And Brahmaji and Narad Muni is referred in this verse 10.13, that if Brahma and Narad, Devarshi Brahma, Devarshi Narad, if he has agreed to you as a Supreme Personality of Godhead, who am I to not? And also there is mention of Vyasadeva. So after Vyasadeva wrote many different scriptures like Mahabharata and so many scriptures, all the Vedas, everything is written by Vyasadeva. Vyasadeva was very frustrated. Vyasadeva was very sad. And by then, Vyasadeva had already written Mahabharata. And Narad Muni says, even if you have codified the Vedas and written great Mahabharata, you have not sung the glories of the Lord of the Vaikuntha, who is Narayan, or who is Vishnu, or who is Krishna. And there are references to that in Srimad Bhagavatam. Sufficiently, as you have not dwelt on the life of the Supreme, that's why that element of frustration exists. And that's why you have to start working on it. And therefore, there needs to be a scripture which directly chants the glories of Sri Hari. So Bhagavad Gita is Sri Hari speaking, and Srimad Bhagavatam is about Sri Hari, which is written by Vyasadeva. And Vyasadeva, after that, the monumental literature, which is available in 12 cantos, and it has thousands of verses, which gives the purity and the bliss in our hearts when you start reading Srimad Bhagavatam. So when the author of that, Vyasadeva, has agreed that, yes, that you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then Arjuna is saying, who am I to not agree that you are the Supreme? So, and Asita and Devala, they are also rishis, and they have also spoken scriptures to various different generations. And all these personalities, Asita, Devala, Vyasa, Narada, they all have recognized the importance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in Krishna. And I bow down to you as the Supreme, because you are unborn, you are supreme, and you have always lived a life wherein you have created this cosmic manifestation. And for you, the body and the soul are the same. By doing bhakti, the two sons of bhakti, which is the transcendental knowledge, and vairagya, which is detachment, will set in. Once, so it is mentioned there are two sons of bhakti: Gyan, which is transcendental knowledge, and vairagya, which is detachment. So as you progress in bhakti, one yardstick, you'll recognize that you're getting transcendental knowledge, which you are not getting in the mundane world. You may have done PhDs or super PhDs, but you have truly not understood the transcendental knowledge. And that knowledge would creep into your mind with the association of devotees through the parampara, because Krishna has mentioned that this can only be understood through parampara. Otherwise, people in this age who have tremendous envy for the Supreme, they are going to really take you out of the equation. And that's the reason why a bona fide spiritual master is recommended for everybody. And at the same time, the second thing which will inculcate in your life is not hankering for money or material benefits. You would grow a sense of detachment in your lives. And these are the two sons of bhakti which will set in your heart. So if you're sensing detachment, if you're acquiring transcendental knowledge, if you have a taste for acquiring transcendental knowledge by trying to attend all the Sunday evening kathas or bhakti vrikshas or various different programs in internet, that means the sons of bhakti is touching your hearts. The ability to conquer darkness in your hearts by clearing it up through the transcendental knowledge of the Lord. And the second aspect is a sense of detachment, not hankering for money or position all the time. These two things will start setting in your lives, and then you start making progress in your devotional life. So, a lot to talk about this verse, and it's a bit theory, but in this age of festivities around us, when you extend the various different leelas of the Lord into your lives, when you start giving Lord a bath, and Lord, you give so much of love in bathing the Lord that Lord reciprocates by becoming transcendently sick, and he doesn't give you darshan for 2 weeks, and then he comes back with happy mood to really go out on a yatra and a beautiful. So this is the only form of Krishna, which is Lord Jagannath, where the Mula Vigraha of the main temple goes out to the yatra of the Lord. There is no other Mula Vigraha which goes out, which steps out of the Ratna Bedi or the altar, the only form of the Lord. So Krishna, in the form of Jagannath, is so merciful that to really cure the problems, in this age, we are so sick that we cannot even go out and meet the doctor. The doctor will have to come to us, and that is where the supreme doctor is coming out from his temple or his abode to go out on a yatra to really give the bliss and cure the people who can't even get to you, because we are so lazy in this material world that we can't perform the devotional service what is mentioned in the scriptures. So a lot to talk about, but this theory or philosophy of 10.12 and 13 should be ingrained in your activities, in your dealings, and in your attire, in the way you dress up, with the way you interact, the way you get association and give association. And hopefully this will clear up a lot of doubts we have in the minds as to who is God. And here Arjuna, the supreme archer who can shoot from anywhere to anywhere, he is convinced after the Chatushloki and is accepting that Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. Param Brahma, Param Brahm Dhamam, Pavitram Paramang Bhavan, Purusam Saswatam Divyam Adidevam Acham Vibhu. So with that, I'd like to end here. A lot to speak. I'd like to hear more about your realizations, your reflections, because that's how you understand Bhagavad Gita is a frequently asked question in the form of a dialogue between Arjuna and Krishna, and that can only be understood through a dialogue. It's not a one-way street. We all learn from each other in every step of the way. So hopefully you will participate in some discussion as we open for any questions, comments from you. With that, I'd like to end here. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. I have a question. So anyway, thanks. It was such a nice lecture. Prabhu, in Odisha, I heard some of the people, they chant rather than Hare Krishna, they chant Hare Rama, Hare Ram. So is it something they are misguided or something?
Yeah, so we have to ask where from they got the mantra. You're right. Sometimes what they do, they try to take the second line of the Mahamantra
Exactly.
and sing it differently. So this is where there has been some interference of different uh, gurus who have given their disciples, but the disciples did not ask them where from the guru is giving this mantra. See, sometimes the mantra can be very secret mantra, like the Gayatri mantra. When in ISKCON you end up taking the second initiation, there is a secret mantra which is given by the guru in your ear, and that is not just the same Gayatri mantra what they give in India when they have threats. I mean, there are some other mantras which are the secret mantras which are given. But this Harinam is called a Mahamantra. It's a publicly available love, and that is so effectively described in many different places. So I'm made to believe, Prabhu, that the disciples, not grudgingly or not in an argumentative way, but with a very humble way, seeking
Yes.
information, did not ask that where from his guru or his or her guru is giving that mantra, and that is why there is some there is a significant amount of misinformation which is see there are people who are, because of envy and jealousy, they are there to jeopardize the scriptures for their own benefit. So whenever we have these babas or various different people, we have to prudently and compassionately and in a very humble way ask, how can you proclaim that you're God when, if you're God, you have to have, the six opulences and you do not have them. So how can you? And if you politely ask, they will realize that they are not up to the thing. So all I can say, Prabhuji, is if they have backing from any Upanishad or any Vedas, we would like to see that, but we can't uh, prove that such Hare Krishna, that altering the second line of Mahamantra is bona fide in any form or shape.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhu. Any other comments and questions?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dhanvat Namo, Prabhuji. Very nice points, Prabhuji. Collect them very nicely. That is the best part, Prabhuji. It's the same information we all hear here and there, but the way you collect it and present it with context to the verse is very good. To the point, I think it was Pratap Prabhu, I think, was asking that question.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Similarly, Prabhuji, in the the between the 16th century and the 18th century, Prabhuji, there was the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's message was also distorted, Prabhu, in the similar way. What I just that it strike my mind when you asked that question, Prabhuji, right? Then Bhakti Vinod Thakur came and he revived that Apasampradaya, Prabhuji. So it is what happens is that either by ignorance or by some they are devious of that, they must have distracted try to distract what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has asked to follow us, right? So similarly, this mantra also must have, either due to ignorance or due to somebody thought that it is better to start with this and must have started, and people followed it because that personality at the time was more influential, powerful, social, whatever, that whoever started that might be also the reason of it. I wanted to add that point, Prabhuji.
Any other comments about this verse? We see somebody with a phone number, I think 835. If you'd like to comment or introduce yourself, Prabhu, we would like to welcome you as well. I don't know if we know this Prabhu or Mataji, but you're welcome to discuss.
Hare
Bhagavad
Krishna.
Gita.
Can you hear me?
Hare Krishna Mataji.
I'm Anuradha's mother, Prabhuji.
Oh, Hare Krishna Mataji. I see Anuradha Mataji as well. So
Yeah,
you're logging on from a different place, Mataji?
No, I'm the same house, but I'm using my earphones.
Okay, not a problem. I see Anuradha Mataji as well. So welcome, Mataji. Hope
Hare
everything.
Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Mataji. So I'm glad both the upstairs or downstairs, wherever Mataji is, there is Hari Katha going. So thank you, Mataji. Absolutely,
So
that's
much,
fine.
Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Regarding this, this Hare Krishna Mahamantra being told the other way, my Guru Maharaj Radhanath Swami said, it is okay, like when you start chanting, it comes after the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, it comes Hare Rama. So when you start chanting regularly, it comes automatically like that. So it is okay, he was telling. So it was in one of his classes, he told me like that. So I don't know how far, like how you were telling, we have to go and find out whether it is in the Upanishads or it is in which other, but my Maharaj told like that, it is okay if you chant like that.
Yes. So I think what Pratap Prabhu is asking is, as you can see here, Mataji,
Okay.
you see Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. This second
Hare.
line, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Yes.
That second line is not Hare Rama, Rama Rama. It is something, Nitai or some
Okay.
distortion. And and it is not the same. If you're referring to, Ratnakar, who eventually became Valmiki, he was so fallen that he couldn't say Rama. So Narad Muni said, say Mara. So then he caught up into Rama.
Yes.
It's not that. So, but what Pratap Prabhu is saying, there are some sect of people in various different eastern part or maybe northern part. The Guru has given the second line. They'll start with this, but the second line, as you can see on the screen, they will say something else, which is not bona fide, and that distorts the Upanishad aspect of the scriptural reference, which because we should always quote from Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra.
Yes. Thank you, Prabhuji. Anyway, thank you.
Any other comments, questions?
I think for everything, the class was very nice. All the examples which you were giving also was very nice. Thank you. I always like to listen to many classes because I'm also taking classes. So it helps me a lot, like the experiences of other people talking, giving class. So thank you very much, Prabhuji.
Thank you. You want to add anything?
Prabhuji, I have one point when you were explaining this. What came to my mind is that, Prabhuji, what Arjuna has, what must be the state of the mind of the Arjuna, is that, Prabhuji, he surrendered, Prabhuji. The surrender is where, when we tell that means surrender means what, we diminish our false ego, thinking that we know. So two things, Prabhuji, here. When Arjuna, he surrendered, automatically what happens, that surrender brings the Krishna enters and he brings the knowledge into your heart, Prabhuji. The correct knowledge, absolute knowledge, not what I am thinking, but what Krishna reveals that knowledge to him. And in that knowledge, he is confirming that previously he had some this mode of he was not in the transcendental mode because he was confused. He was originally transcendental, but since he was confused, seeing the relatives, he came to the bodily platform. He got confused, and later when he heard, that's why Maharaj, we should listen to all Maharaj's lectures, which will basically clear up our knowledge, and we start surrendering. And the moment we surrender, um,
I think Prabhu, your hand got into the mute button. Yes, Prabhu, you can speak now.
Okay, thank you,
You-
Prabhuji.
I think you muted yourself a little bit in the middle of the sentence.
Okay, sorry. What I was telling is, so the surrender lights the lamp of the knowledge in the heart, Prabhuji. And two, uh, right now we do a lot of analytics, Prabhuji, right? In our day-to-day life, we do a lot of data analytics, and all the data analytics is collected from the data, and we try to we try to do inferences, right? Inferential statistics and all that. But anyway, the point is, here also he's trying to back up by saying, by quoting these great personalities, that they already have revealed it. All this has been revealed, but Arjuna understood at that point of time what they were saying. Maybe earlier he did not have he did not have the understanding completely, but
Yes,
now
sir.
when he heard that and he heard, now he started realizing that is coming to him, like how the cow churns, it eats the food, and but later it brings it up and chews it and digests it. So similarly, now he's confirming that yes, I'm agreeing to that, and now you told me yourself, and I have realized. So there is basically the confluence of Guru Shastra and the Sangha is happening here. Means from all three sides, he realized. Krishna told to him, and it is backed up by these great sages who have already realized, who are already realized people. So this is the point which I wanted to when you were explaining, I got this trouble.
Yes, Prabhu. So
Hare
thank you for
Krishna.
sharing. So what happens is with the beginning, right? When we get influenced by the process of bhakti, we start, liking people who are good speakers, who are often were using wonderful power of their communication. We start liking it, and then we start the process of starting with Bhagavad Gita, which is what Prabhupada started. Prabhupada said you should always start with Bhagavad Gita, and then we read it, then we realize maybe we should study it, and then we discuss it with the devotees, and then we realize that the pastimes of the Lord or the glorification of the Lord is so significant because we are starting to surrender now in the 10th chapter. Then all of that is Srimad Bhagavatam. Then you start going into Srimad Bhagavatam, and then after that, you end up realizing that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he surrendered and he was like a devotee. So what's the life of a devotee? Then you start peeping into Chaitanya Charitamrita, reading Chaitanya Charitamrita. And our Maharaj should end up telling you that once you start reading Chaitanya Charitamrita, then the next step they enjoy blissfully is reading Chaitanya Bhagavat. So as you said, the cow takes this food, but once he starts churning again and again through the process of different literatures, Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Chaitanya Bhagavat, then you realize there's so much of nectar in this thing, which is essentially the same, but the way it is being conveyed to you, the love which is oozing from various different places is so different that you start to fall in love with this communication channel, and that really helps you in your appreciation of devotion, and that speeds up the process of surrender. And the argument we have is often reduced when you start accepting the various different domains. Bhakti has been written by different wonderful personalities in their own way, then you get the churning of it very nicely. Any other thoughts from anyone? Prajapati Prabhu, Govil
Hare
Mataji.
Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
How are you, Prabhu? When are you coming to New Jersey?
So by 15 or so, I am thinking June.
Okay, wonderful,
July.
Prabhu. Very
Okay.
nice. So we'll see you during Oak Tree Road Rath Yatra.
Okay, Prabhu. Okay, Hare Krishna.
And Govil Mataji, how are you?
I'm okay. Thank you. Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Dandavat pranam.
Thank you, Mataji. Good to see you during Snan Yatra.
Yeah.
And hope you had a blissful Snan Yatra.
Yeah. It's really, I am lucky. So I can come.
So you took the opportunity to bathe Lord Jagannath Baldev Subhadra on that day?
Yeah. I will try.
Okay. Okay. No, I was referring to the 14th of June, Mataji, what was last Tuesday. I thought you came. I thought I saw you there.
Yeah.
You bathed the Lord. You did the Abhishek of the Lord.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Okay. All right. So Niranjan Prabhu, you wanted to say something?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat pranam. Yeah,
Hare
all
Krishna.
glories to Srila Prabhuji.
Understood.
Yeah, so beautiful Snana Yatra. We went to temple and prasadam also wonderful. So we really enjoyed that day. And regarding the verse, Prabhuji, you really explained very well all the good examples that you have given. And I just have one question. I'm not sure. So at the end of this Snana Yatra, we do this Gajanan fest, right, for Jagannath. So is there any reason, Prabhuji, why, what is the reason behind for this Gajanan? Is there any thought, any reason?
Yes, wonderful question. So once upon a time, there was a devotee of Lord Ganesh. His name was Ganapati Bhatta. He has come all the way, he was a Maharashtrian Brahmin. He had come all the way from Maharashtra and he came to Puri. And when he, on that day, Snan Yatra was going on. And he was very disappointed because everybody was said the Param Brahma, Param Dhamam is his Lord Ganesh. When he saw a different kind of personality who is Lord of the universe, but he looked so different, he got disappointed. So he left the place, and when he was back near Athirnala, which is probably 2-3 kilometers from the main temple, and he was taking a rest because he was disappointed, and he was about to go away to Maharashtra. Then the Panda got a dream that there is this devotee of Lord Ganesh who is here, and he is disappointed, so bring him back. So news spread out and everybody started looking for Ganapati Bhatta. So Ganapati Bhatta came back, and then when he saw Lord Jagannath gave him darshan as Ganesh. So that, lads, in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna mentions, Aham Sarvasya Prabhu, everything comes from me. Lord Ganesh comes from him, Kartik comes from him. So Rudra, as you know, has come from Brahma, and Brahma has come from Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, and Garbhodakshaya Vishnu has come from Karnadakshaya Vishnu, and Karnadakshaya Vishnu go back, and it all comes from Purna Purushottam Krishna. So everything comes from Krishna. And when Ganapati Bhatta saw the beautiful form of Gajanan Vesh in Lord Jagannath Baldev Subhadramai, he was awestruck, and he felt that everything comes from Jagannath, who is none other than Krishna. And from that day onwards, on the day of Snan Yatra, Lord Jagannath, to keep the respect of the devotee, to give mercy to the devotee, to essentially spread the aspect that everything comes from him and everybody should recognize that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And whether it is, so that's why there is no reason to offer anything other than Lord Jagannath or Krishna. Anything you offer to anybody else will eventually come to him. So, and from that day onwards, it was very clear. And once the scriptures are read by everybody, including Srila Prabhupada's translation, things will be very, very clear in the minds of people, and people will not be fighting about, okay, this God is better, that God is better. So did that answer your question, Ru?
Yes, Prabhuji. Actually, I didn't know the story behind it, but thank you so much. You explained.
Thank you, Prabhu. So if there is no other question, we are also preparing for actual day Rath Yatra in Jagannath Puri on the 1st of July in Plainfield Temple, and on 2nd of July we'll have a Rath Yatra on Boardwalk in New York City, Atlantic City. We are going to give away Ziplocs and labels tomorrow during Sunday Feast. If you want to cook any cookies or khaja for the Lord and pack it and bring it to Atlantic City, or if you can't go, you can bring it. I'll be doing that tomorrow evening. And any service during this time, these are opportunities for us to participate in the Leela of Lord. As long as you have enthusiasm, it's all about showing enthusiasm and getting engrossed in the pastime of the Lord. So anything you want, any information you want, you can always ask us, and how you can basically take this opportunity to strengthen the relationship between you and Supreme, which is done through various different festivals. That's why festivals brings out the essence and energy and the loving exchange between a devotee and the Supreme. So with that, I would like to end here. If there is no other question. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhu vaevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Granthra Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Hari Hari Bol.